There are moments in my work that stay with me. Moments where I am just so full of gratitude for what I get to do for my work. Moments when, I see transformations. People come to me feeling heavy, burdened, and struggle. And I get to witness their transformation and seeing their bravery to go through their pain and to come out on the other side being totally transformed and free and light. And the same happened to me recently with a client. She came to me a month ago and she came with a severe state of anxiety. Now, this was not just a lot of stress or intense worrying. It was an intense and overwhelming fear that, in her case, turned even into compulsive behavior. Now, she was trapped in a mental prison and dictated by a terrorizing voice in her head. So, this terrorizing voice or feeling controlled everything she did. And that's how it turned into a compulsive behavior. No matter what she had to do, how she moved, there came this voice in and told her she had to do it in a certain way and 10 times. Otherwise, something bad will happen to herself or a loved one. So, this was an extreme case, but I really want to share this with you. And although many of us don't experience fear and anxiety and stress in this extreme form, but what we uncovered, me and my recent client underneath, is something that I believe so many of us carry. Maybe just in a quieter and more subtle way. And we often, or mostly, are not even aware of it. But often it's like chronic overthinking or perfectionism, need to control something, even jealousy. Or just this voice in your head that never lets you rest. So many of us are living in prisons built by fear. And the way out, it's not necessarily about changing your entire life, but it's about freeing yourself from that prison inside of you and learning how to see your life, the one you have, through a completely new lens. My client, she kept this painful secret about the anxiety and the compulsive behavior for herself. No one knew. And on the outside, she was living a nice and normal life, but on the inside, she had this cruel voice that told her exactly how to do things over and over and over again. It was, for example, like when she was drinking a coffee, like, okay, now the voice told her you have to put the cup down exactly this way and 10 times. And if you don't do it that way, something really cruel will happen to yourself or to your boyfriend or to your mother. I mean, can you imagine? That's a life full of terror, anxiety, fear, and no one even knew. And yet she came. She came to me despite the terror, despite the shame, despite the fear, and showed up for herself. And I want to say this clearly, that was incredibly brave from her. That she came despite the fear, despite the shame, despite the terror, and talked to me about it. She never ever had talked about it to anyone else. And why is this such a brave action she did? Because, first of all, when your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, even asking for help can feel impossible. Plus, then there is the shame. The shame of having this, the shame of something is broken within me. And of course, nothing is broken, but it feels like. But she did. She came and she said, Monica, please, I need help. I don't know what else to do. I've tried so many different things, but nothing works and I can't continue like this. I can't live like this any longer. Now, on the outside, like I said, her life seemed normal and functional. She had relationships, work, routines. But on the inside, she was living in an invisible prison. She had this painful secret she carried in silence until she was brave enough to talk about it and to open up. Now, when we began to work together, then I could just feel how much she had been carrying. And I know also, and she knew she wasn't looking for a quick fix. She knew this wasn't just a mindset problem. It wasn't about being more positive or reframing negative thoughts or being stronger or more disciplined. She knew that the real work had to happen some levels deeper. And she was right. So we went there together. We worked with the body, with the subconscious mind, with the conscious mind also. And we went into the emotional root of what was driving the anxiety and this compulsive behavior she was suffering from for many, many years. Now, and when we made this deep inner work, what we uncovered were memories that made total sense. Moments from childhood where she felt completely trapped, where she felt out of control. Now, there were long days at school where she had to sit still and study, and her whole being just wanted to be outside and to play like a child wants to. But she had to sit still, she had to write, and she had to do, for her, boring stuff, and there was no choice. And teachers pressured her, and all she wanted was harmony and freedom. But what she experienced was stress and overstimulation and conflict, and then at the end, shame and guilt, because she always thought she couldn't fulfill the tasks at school, for example, like she should. And at the other side, also, she didn't even want to and felt shame about not wanting to sit there a whole day and just, be in school. She wanted to play outside, to be with animals, to enjoy nature, but she couldn't. And at home, it was a normal family. Nothing from the outside tragic happened when she was little. But like what happens with siblings, there were fights and disharmony and stress and overwhelm, and her parents busy, especially her father busy with work during the week. And she felt responsible, like it was her job to keep everything in harmony and at peace and to make everyone happy, but she couldn't. So she wanted to create harmony, but she couldn't. She wants, but she couldn't. This is learned helplessness. She felt helpless and out of control again. Now, when she was a girl, she was highly sensitive and she didn't know. So she felt more than other people would feel, maybe, or other kids would feel. And she internalized that. She didn't speak about it. There was no space and no room to talk about her feelings, about her stress, about her worries when she was a kid. And again, she felt trapped. There was no freedom, no control, and she had no voice. And in that environment, subconsciously, she created rituals, a survival strategy, compulsive behavior that made her feel safe in a world that for her felt unpredictable, overwhelming, and very unsafe, where she had no control. This is why the compulsive behavior came in. And so we went into these memories, we investigated, we interpreted them, and we interrupted this old, harmful, outdated program that she had, this compulsive behavior, in order to keep her safe. So we released the blocks, the stuck emotions that were frozen in within her for many decades, and we gently rewired her whole system. And she realized that the version of her that felt out of control, helpless, and trapped was a younger version of her that created this compulsion. And that is not the same like she is right now. She's a completely different version. She's an adult. She has so many more choices. But subconsciously, the old program was running always the show, even if she now was already an adult. And when she realized that, and after doing this deep work, something amazing happened. The very next day, we talked, and I could already hear it on her voice, what she was about to say. She said, I will never forget this. I can't believe the voice is gone. I am free. This is such a different way of being, of feeling. I'm free. I can just do what I want. And when I drink something, I just put the cup down and don't have to do any rituals or repetition. It feels like I'm back on the driver's seat now, and I can do what I want with my life. I feel so free. Now, this was such a beautiful moment to witness this relief. But this story didn't end here. Stay with me. This was the huge first step we did, but it continued because another layer was still there that showed up. She mentioned to me that she has what she said a chocolate addiction. She said, I have a chocolate addiction. After every meal, I feel like a need to have chocolate. And it's automatic. It's if I don't, then I just don't feel okay without. So this too was a form of emotional survival, and it was a kind of a layer of compulsive behavior, but obviously not as severe as the other one was. But you know, again, we went deep and worked on the root of the problem. Because, like with every addiction, it's not about the substance you take, it's not about the chocolate, the cigarettes, the alcohol, the drugs, whatever it is. It's about why do you need it? And this is what we did. So we went deep, worked with the subconscious, worked with the body, went deep down to release all stuck emotions. And what we discovered was so beautiful and heartbreaking. Again, memories came up from her childhood, and their weekdays were just filled with pressure. So, school stress, homework, never getting to do what she really wanted, always feeling trapped and forced to study and write the whole afternoon, like on homeworks, things that she didn't like and they felt so unnatural to her. But there was no choice again. And always there was this quiet belief, which was not even a belief. It was like for her, it was the reality that her needs didn't matter at all. Now, this is what came up, like the stress during the weekdays. And what also came up is that weekends, it was a different life. First of all, her father was there. He didn't have to work. Everyone was at home. Everyone, they were all together. They had beautiful breakfast together. There was joy, there was togetherness, there was peace, there was freedom, and always chocolate on the table. So these were the moments when her body was really in peace. Her nervous system was super relaxed. And this became linked to chocolate. So chocolate wasn't just the food, it was an anchor for that feeling. Chocolate meant for her safety, love, harmony, and also being with her father, because her father passed away years later and her body still kept reaching for that feeling and for this memory of this love and connection with her father. Now, every time in her adult life when she ate, that addiction kicked in and she was like longing for the safety, the love, the harmony, the connection, her father. And it was not about the chocolate, but it was about what was anchored and linked to the chocolate. So every time she ate the chocolate, these feelings came up. Like this was the anchor for her to come up with this feeling, to remember her loving father, to feel safe, to feel love, to feel harmony. Now, again, we did the deep work. We came, to these amazing, very important childhood memories. And she also saw suddenly as an adult the connection. And the power of this pattern began to soften. So she realized, well, chocolate can't bring my father back, but subconsciously she believed it before. And it can't bring her love, safety, harmony, but that feeling of love. And this is what she said. She came to that realization like, now I realize that that feeling of love and connection and this beautiful memory of her father lives within me. And I don't need any substance in order to, wake it up, so to say. It's in me always. So, what we did also then is we anchored these feelings of love, of harmony, of safety in her body without needing any chocolate. It was then anchored in her body. And she learned to access calm and comfort and love and safety from within. No sugar needed, no chocolate needed, no guilt, just peace. And the next time we talked, she said, I didn't even think about chocolate after my meal today. So it felt like I was already satisfied and full, but not just physically, but also emotionally. And this was just so beautiful for me and also so fascinating to see how it works, how we link things to feelings and emotions, and then we crave for this substance, for this chocolate, for this whatever it is, not because of the chocolate, not because of the even the taste of chocolate, but the chocolate is just the thing that triggers this beautiful feeling because it was anchored with these feelings. This was just so fascinating. And as I said, one of these moments that make me just so incredibly grateful for what I get to do and witness with so many beautiful people. Now, this is really important. What I want you to hear most out of this story is to understand that my client's prison wasn't her life, and her life wasn't broken. She didn't have to fix it, and she was also not broken. And she didn't have to run away from her life or change something severely. The prison was in her head. The prison was how she had learned to see her life, not her life itself. And she saw her life through fear, through guilt, through shame, pressure, powerlessness. And even though her symptoms were extreme, her story is not far from what many of us experience, right? I have never had, severe compulsive behavior like she had. But I know I had those thoughts that keep spinning, when the stories suddenly become out of control. And I felt pressure to hold it all together. And I felt like it was on me to keep harmony. And I felt like I had to be a certain way in order to earn love, to feel safe. And many of you probably have too. So, this is why I wanted to share this story with you. So, we all have inner prisons, and these prisons make us perceive the world in a dark way. And then we suffer and mistakenly see this distorted version, what we see through our prison, as reality. While the subjective perspective of the world we have depends on our history. It's made of our history, our traumas, our emotions we carry in the subconscious within us. So the point here is we don't necessarily need to fix our lives, but we need to fix the lens or change the lens through which we see our life. And that's why there is this quote from Marianne Williamson, which I like so much. I think she took it from A Course in Miracles. And it says, "You don't need a new life, just a new lens through which you see the one you have." So that's exactly what I was talking about today. And how are we going to do that? Well, by going to the root cause of the problem and not just working on the symptoms, by doing deep subconscious inner work, and by understanding and meeting with compassion the version of us that created that lens in the first place, and healing this old version of us. So, and when we go to that root and when we bring awareness to what's underneath, everything changes, because the way we see the world changes. We see suddenly through a different lens. And that's what happened for this beautiful lady, for this client who came to me. And that's what's waiting for you too. Because you don't need to erase everything and start over. And you don't need a new life. You don't need to be fixed or to fix your life or to change everything. You just need a new lens through which you see the life you have. And the peace you are looking for, the harmony, the love, this is already within you. And it's waiting to be seen. I hope that you could take something out from this video. It was really on my heart, so I wanted to share it today. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for listening. And if something touched you, feel free to share it in the comments. Or if you know someone that could benefit from my video, then feel free to share it. I'd love to hear what came up for you. And please support my channel by liking the video and subscribe for more content. And yeah, whenever you need support, I'm here. Sending you so much love. See you next time.